Good morning, everybody. So we're going to do opening prayer first. This Jubilee book, page 5. So we do once English together. Oh, Mother Saint Jean, to me, obstacles who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and end chains. May they experience happiness, be separate from suffering and safely. In the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Buddhahood. Page 6. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds, speech, and mind. We take refuge in the kind rule and the lineage lamas. We take refuge in the deity of the mandalas of the yadams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dhakas, Dakinis, and the Dhamma gardens, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the example of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progress on the Bodhisattva's path, are true for the benefit of all sentient beings giving birth to bodhicitta, and I apply myself to accomplish stage of the path. In the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. May all Mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never be separate from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. I bow down respectfully my body, speech, and faithful mind to all Tathagatas and the 10 directions, those who have already reached the Tathagata state, those who are reaching it at present, and those Tathagatas still to come. Through the power of Samantabhada's prayer, may all Buddhas manifest vividly in mind. I pause to them, multiplying my body as many times as there are atoms of the earth. In each atom, I visualize as many Buddhas as there are atoms, surrounded by countless Bodhisattvas. Thus, all space is filled with Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. I praise all Buddhas through manifesting, chanting, expressing the great ocean of their excellent qualities. To all the Buddhas I make offerings of various pure flowers, flower garlands of music, entertaining oils, manifesting lake and milligram incense. I make offerings to them of fine garments, perfume, and pure hearts among Meru, and orange the most beautiful way. I visualize the highest and most extensive offerings and offer them with great faith to all the Buddhas. I prostrate to the Buddhas and make offerings to them, following the deeds of the great Bodhisattva Samantabhadas. I confess to you, Buddha, whatever negative actions I have committed due to the power of anger, desire, and ignorance, I rejoice in the merit of all the Buddhas and the 10 directions, of the great Bodhisattvas and the Pakshika Buddhas. those who have attained arhatship, those who have entered the path of arhatship, and all other beings. I recourse to all great protectors and Buddhas. I turn the high sphere of Dharma as light displaying the darkness of beings in the 10 directions and lead them gradually to the enlightened state. I make recourse to the Buddhas to pass into Nirvana, to living Lord as many ants as there are atoms of the earth, in order to benefit over all beings. Whatever merit I have gathered through prostration, offerings, confession, rejoicing, beseeching, and praying, for the sake of enlightenment of all sentient beings, all these are dedicated. Damge doje jaje reisen rong yinje modo deje bunjamba serje lembo dave jibe ge jaje jarbe jala zorwande jagar benjen bola gadenje manjune golande rome dada lano zimbe ganan Garchen Rinpoche la juba sorwande dorjen janjen de lo naroda marba mulai jije gambo bai bamo juba jarwai di gongbe kaju lama nala sorwande romen jije yenje borane Tezom sanje genje ngogo nye ranzem jige ngozon donzebe sabe lame jala zorwande. Okay, so today the teaching is also same as yesterday, 2 topics. So I'm not going to promise the take answer and question. So yesterday we didn't get time, maybe today also not sure. So first I'm going to explain, talk about Garchen Rinpoche's little bit his story. But actually I don't know so much. So you see Susu, and she is here, she wrote the Garchen Rinpoche's biography, right? So there have lots of information in there. She went to, she and also the Christina, she have a documentary, Garchen Rinpoche's benefit for all other sentient beings. Susu and Christina, they went to in Tibet, they went to many places and they interview all many people. So they have all the information more than me. So I today telling is only my experiencing, and also I want to talk today here is Garchen Rinpoche's long life here. This is the route by His Holiness. So His Holiness never meet Garchen Rinpoche before when he wrote this long life. So this is the I think route by maybe this one we have here is page 86. I think this Holiness wrote by maybe 1998. I think I'm not sure this. I think this is before that. Looks like because when I was monk in Tibet, that time we have this this long life. That time Garchen Rinpoche not went to India. So we have this already that time we have this long life. So I'm going to explain this. This is the very special long life because the Holiness knows all the future, clairvoyance, right? So he wrote this long life for supplication to Garchen Rinpoche. It's here talk about progress and talk about this life Garchen Rinpoche, how he can benefit to other beings. So this meaning showing His Holiness Garchen Rinpoche has strong connect mind, right? because before they didn't meet, they wrote this long life, this one. So no, His Holiness Drigong Chamgun Chesang. Okay? No, Drigong Chamgun Chesang. So yeah, Chamgun Chesang Rinpoche. We have a True Holiness picture here. Holiness Chongsang, Holiness Chesang. So now I'm going to explain this Tibetan. So we have a translator better, So here, everybody has this book, right? So log in the page 86. We got this through together. Tata de Garchen Rinpoche ki shapting ti kanima taran dashi shige yen si tata de. Ene ta shapting de la Garchen Parding Garchen je shapting chimi drisu jonsang shi sawa yoso zin tsendong de terido. Ene de hotel tan de Tsikang here yor Tsikang tambo de ene choban jitin sungula chuju de nang yaware choban jitin sungul do omso de manjer dewa chimbo chiju ko song de ne chikole mai yeng de ne choban jitin sungun de kangda longchu zobo ko yeng ware manga na so ran sa longchu zo song do ene longchu zobo ko de top je yang ningje ko go ne ene pen na dugat na yin de ne turbo ko la ya de zungyin ko turba na yin semjin ko dong pe byong ko yore de Messi Kosom Dani Chope Jong Song de Choban Jidin Songun de and a Chijuko down, Longju Zoboko down, Triple Somka, Dani Kimba, Tini, the Richie Song Yore, Choban Jidin Songun and Chopar Ju Yavare Tambote. Tande Chopar Ju go Jimse the Karchak Yoramna, and the Tata de Ngaranso, the Dugon Kaju, Laya de Getini, Tembat Tambo, Sarton Kentin Jitin Sungu Chad Yore. Ngaranso Jindin Sondagunalo Yore, Dorjin, Chanjin, Tello, Naro, Tang, Marpa, Mala, Chije Gambo, Pamotropa, Jarvan Digompa, Sondo, Tate in the Jitin Sungo Lan, Chopar Ju Yavare. And then Garchen Rinpoche Kata, Kumtrain Tambote, Tan Jitin Sungo, Loma Chai, Jimsinetine, and they check the Chago Yore Niba, the Tata de Jitin Sungo, the Gonka Juka, the Tata de Tembak Sorton Kenya Latine, and it's Chopar Ju Yava. Tenin Chopar Ju Laya Telata, Gupa Chimbo Yore, Gupa Mambo, and it Rang Ketal, Savalama, any Lapula to Solata, Pecha and Matsam Nani, and telling Chuju, Nandogoni, Kusan Nandova, any Tambu Chupa and Timba Songo Yore, Tambu Chupa and Timba, any some Yava, some Tadi Jamuro Mochek, some Yungo Europe, and the Shapin, the Samundi, and Shapin de Maung Pala, the Ta Molam Zenanda, the Shaping Molam the top check, Rinpoche say yon the rain the Yuak, and it and Duke conduct the Chebagoni, Choban Jitin Sungul Tambo Chobar Yavares.
So we'll explain this long life prayer for Garchen Rinpoche, page 86, and the title is The Excellent Stream of the Elixir of Immortality, a prayer for the long life of glorious Garchen. And then the first verse says, Om Swasti, unchanging great bliss, Dharmakaya, unceasing manifold creativity, Sambhogakaya, dance of compassion without object, Nirmanakaya, protector in nature, the indivisible three Kayas protect us. So this first verse is actually like an homage to Lord Chigten Sumgyen. So Chigten Sumgyen, his mind is unwavering in the Dharmakaya, so it remains within its unchanging great bliss of the Dharmakaya. And then from this Dharmakaya nature, while remaining unwavering from the Dharmakaya, he manifests this unceasing manifold creativity of the Sambhogakaya. So from the Dharmakaya, then the Sambhogakaya arises, and then dance of compassion without object, Nirmanakaya, then through the compassionate force, the power of the Sambhogakaya, then the Nirmanakaya manifestations appear for the benefit of sentient beings. So this in brief is saying that Lord Jigten Sumgön is the embodiment of the Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya. And first, the author is paying homage to this embodiment of the three kayas, Jigten Sumgön. And so the reason for first paying homage to Jigten Sumgön is because he was the founder of the Drikung Kagyi lineage, and he has propagated the Drikung Kagyi teachings. And also that is why he's also mentioned in our lineage prayer, where we say, the great Vajradhara, Tilopa, Naropa, Marpa, Milarepa, Dharma Lord Gambopa, and Lord Jigten Sumgön, so until the root guru. So he becomes the root guru, really our guru, especially of the one who has composed this text. So also the purpose of writing such an homage in the beginning is that the words that follow are in accordance with the Holy Dharma. So this prayer was composed by His Holiness Chetsang Rinpoche. And the reason for first paying homage is that through the force of this prayer, may in the future, in many future times, Garchen Rinpoche's life be long. So that is why in the beginning we first pay homage to Lord Jigten Sumgön.
Tene chuju niba te tata de jipsin droma kamola chuju nang yaware. Ene tata de tatse ke nalo la de sonda pekar wisu churuk chashe zo son de ta droma kamote ene ta lo churuk lombe zo suko yaware. Ene tene ke ta nasu talapa dewa. Tung kondo ta abar sadan zay son ta de la kar song yorala na tene sharat so che tung ka dawa na yin. Tene sa la me to abalan zay. Any jipa je tamje chop dewa chivun jipa laso ba tene le chop dewa zogor chivun jipa laso ba chop dewa. Any yivin kolon chemi sejin so sonda ta jipsin droma la kamola chopar jiware. E tada de droma kamola de chopar jiwa ki jimsin ta nge samna tam ta jimsin namba ni yore samdo. Kain shiwa yena tambo te ta droma kamo te any yivin kolon chemi sejin zone tene cheka la chela cha de yore tadal any shatin de ta che la dan rewa yu yong yin de any jimsin che de yivin kolon chimi sejin so la ya de droma kamo de chela yin be jimsin che chi any jimsin ni ba de tada ta rombo che la yedam khala chirdang ning yedam khala che rewa yin na yedam khala cha san rob de ko yore song ko yore any tende yin de ta yena yang tada de la dro ne kabla tene yang tada drinking lama number re tene nyamni nangking ke la chik le zo tene drom nang ke yore te yin de tada ga chen bo che ke ta zo yedam klan yedam chama yedam kla cha de yore de yena yang tin na ne ta che mamang yin la ta par pha ge kon ro ta tene kon re rang te jön de che nyamni na ya te droma ka mo cha de wa yin de ene jimsin te ni ke tho ne tada de Roma Kamotela ta chuju nang yaware.
And then the next verse is the second homage, and that is the homage to White Tara. It says, white as the autumn moon, replete with its 16 parts, the protectress from the 8 fears, mother of the 3 times victors, sits in the center of a white lotus, holding an utpala, wish-granting chakra, bestowing mortal life. So that is the homage to White Tara, who appears as a youthful goddess with the age of a 16-year one, and her face is white. She's holding an utpala. She protects from the 8 fears, of which the main fear here is the fear of death. And so I believe that there are 2 reasons for also paying homage to Tara here at this point. First one is White Tara is called the wish-granting chakra, like a wish-fulfilling jewel, a wish-granting wheel. And that is, she grants life, long life. She's a long life deity, a longevity deity. And the longevity deity is obviously related to a long life prayer, a long life practice. So that's one reason. And then the second one is that White Tara also is the actual Yidam deity of Rinpoche. And Rinpoche actually always says, whichever deity you practice, if you practice one deity, you're really accomplishing all the deities, because within one they are all included. So a guru has one principle and deity that they practice, and while accomplishing that deity, they accomplish all the deities. And so Garchen Rinpoche, actually his all the Yidam deities to him are Yidam deities. All deities are Yidam deities, but he in particularly always encourages others to practice White Tara, and this is also what he himself practices the most. It is White Tara, and so that I believe is also a reason for then paying homage to White Tara.
Deni dada de da deni de song yung yore pap yon ayan dewa chi dokam so sangar jere sto song do ta de juba te song yung yore yani jagam pap yole ta romboche ke ta jirap daw shiwa yena ni ayan dewa ki chi nam thore song do pap yon ayan dewa chi so ta ayan dewa te ene de dewa chenbo yore ayan dewa te tada de gombo lodrop ke tene thuse chade yore tan gombo lodrop la loma pe mangbo yore te nani ta loma thok se jena da ta ti jin de nyam ne yo dewa tene te ayan dewa chade yore ene lodrop ke ta te lodrop te kande je ri shiwa yen lodrop te ta sanje ni ba la go yore sanje ni ba gombo lodrop se sanje chom de de ke tene tan jambol la ne chi mangbo chi song ene tikwa chenbo tambo tikwa chung chenbo ngada jiba mangbo ji song yongde ene ngema jagan phapo yola ta tikwa chung ge chi de ta pa mamang na lo la chap chenbo shi ji yore yena ya tikwa chenbo ge chi de deas chap chenbo ji yo mare ene tikap sa sanje ge song ya sa gen kor ge lo ma de so mang chi shi de ta ji hi yong ji da yong ding ji 엔 던르고 로마트 솔라 조처다 제 대과 침복을 지든 송야바리 송야 그 값서 책 비교 당야 돼야 얘는 가서 내 산스크르트도 대그 돈이 송아래 송고 요래 야갈 대 값서 깨니 비교 당거 요래 빨리 그게 당 산스크르트 니 당거 요래 빨리 조지도 파 마망라 지용 그 칸이 빨리 대 잡책이 요래 얘는 산스크르트 깨때 다다데 다야 시용진 그 나로라 얘는 대 잡체야 요와 던르게 계자지도 근데 이제 특파 중국 같이 빨리 그 돌로 요 대화대 파 마망 용서 좀 발라 찹 대화 산제 그다 publicly 된데서는 파 송요래. 근데 특징 같이 다야 시용진 그더니 던데 그 돌로 송요와 인데 찹지 뭐요 말에. 될 때는 산제 거 냥일을 만든 해는 되는 공부로도 롱대 나와래 산제 그다 공 냥일은 되네 되니 로 입자게 질라 땅 공부로 라야지 표결에 잠을 라인데나. 아니 대게 되니 치드다 특과 치베 치드 파 다른 제 받던데 난 그래 되니 공구송 야위 치드다 치 양다바지 레 송의 특징 그 치드 되는 잠을래나 다른 제 받생게 당 공부로 대 산진 제 받던데 제 표결에 송의 롱딘 서버 제 되는 도 랑거시 받어서 나는 송이 와리 산제게 대송아 예자게 돈이 되는 공부로 대다 로 예자게 제 lap에 아니 특과 치베 치드 다른 제 받난 되니 다다데 오마를 초 초라야 되는 그 잠시 잠 되는 제 와래 ane ti kapsata loma tela tada de ayan dewa yore ayan dewa de teni tada da ngarang so chine je she ge yore ngar chi jing chi chu sher chi gong chi zone je she ge do te je ge na lo ni ayan dewa te jing chi cha ge yore ane tada de ti kapsata da jagal la teni nalendra ta university zone yore wa nalendra yore ane ta te nampa sanje ba ge ta chi logyong se sa ge tene da de cha de yore 에 나렌다테 매바 차송아 얘네들이 대값은 난치 차상대 파 간다를 제 간다마 템바테 nomdo고 요한도 던지 차대 요르 간다 나렌다테 내가 침보 쇼제 차대와 인데 애니 공볼로롭데 나렌다 그 캠보 나와래 애니 대지로 공 사자 yin 던지 요데베 내가블라 애니 다 나렌다라 다데 메텍 따양 라야지 요르와 메텍 따양 라야지 요르 다 코페 케바 침보 쇼지 차래 애니 코그 조바 조용 내가블라 스지기 라키가 요 말에 대 메케비 짐센데 코란 그 완속 드바레 라 완속 침보 드롭네 되는 그룹 톰네 땅 그룹을 나바니 요른 초근 그룹도 티몽근 그룹 라야지 티몽근 그룹도 톱이로 톱레스 Timon go the tom that any Koran get so bad Hama Pambas at any Nalinda Lavimare. Then Nalinda Lam the Nalinda so bad so you did any Tamatic Tayan Larkin his such a media. The reality on the any time Nalinda the Lobda take it any Gendemba Nabaketa, Gombo Drovares and Gombo Sovatam. Then Gombo Sovatap and say on the tennis Saro Nabo Chegla. Any that thing Gombo loves a chagura tell you get it then attending Sarote Keleta. You get it Saro Nabo San Nabo Yong. Saro Nabo the tongue Gombo Lazare.
They can be Sarge Lepson.
Satellite tell you get down a rail.
Say you get down.
The moon wrote to Yomara. Then it goes on Gombo drove you in the San Nabo, then it is Saro on the tongue again. Tell a tenny you get it, tongue as of the Nalenda, the Jingo dose, Matapaka. They tell that Lobo little Perochi, she or that Subatokala. Then you get the tendency and the Saro take a chi on a race, and Gombo little take up the tenny party relata, some the Yoda Yore. Then it tin yam the Tata and the Ayan Deva Yore Yamla. Ote Tambushina.
Didn't complete your Marva,
Nalinda Yomare.
Yamara, because it is Sarchi.
Tango.
And so then, yeah, the next verse. The one known in the Holy Land as Arya Deva, emanated into the Gar clan of eastern Tibet as Chudingpa, the heart son of Chigden Sumgun. May the life of glorious Garchen remain steadfast for 100 eons. This is now regarding Garchen Rinpoche's like the origin of the Gar incarnation, and so according to history, Garchen Rinpoche was in the past known as Arya Deva. The Holy Land is the land of India. So he appeared as the heart son of Nagarjuna, called Arya Deva. So the heart son, because Nagarjuna had actually many disciples, but the heart son was somebody who was always at his side. Aryadeva was his heart son. And Nagarjuna was referred to as the second Buddha, because at the time when the Buddha was alive, the Buddha actually taught the Dharma extensively. The Buddha taught all of the vehicles, the Hinayana, the Mahayana, and also the Tantric teachings. But during that time in India, the Hinayana teachings were most widely spread to the common people, the public of India. And the Mahayana teachings were not spread so widely at that time. Actually, during that time, there was only a small assembly of the Buddha's disciples who had great learning. They were great scholars, and only to them at that time the Buddha actually taught the Mahayana teachings. So when he taught the Mahayana teachings, he used the Sanskrit language. At that time in India, there were basically two main languages used for the teachings, that is Pali and also Sanskrit. And the Pali language was the language known to the general people, the ordinary people in India. And in that way, the Hinayana teachings could easily be spread in the Pali language. So the Pali language was widely spread and known by the general ordinary people in India. And the Sanskrit language was not known to the general ordinary people of India, but was only known to those great scholars with a lot of learning. And so the Hinayana teachings were taught in Pali to the public, and the Mahayana teachings were taught in Sanskrit, and for this reason they were not widely spread in India at that time. And before the Buddha had passed into parinirvana, he gave a very clear prophecy. He said that 400 years after my departing, after my passing into nirvana, there will be a being, Nagarjuna, who will appear in this world. There will be a being who will propagate and spread the Mahayana teachings at that time. He will be the second Buddha. So that prophecy, that prediction is very clearly stated in the Gone to Lanka Sutra. And then according to the prophecy, 400 years after the Buddha's passing into nirvana, Nagarjuna did appear and he did spread the Mahayana teachings. There were various scripture collections on the Madhyamakam, but the view of Madhyamakam that he propagated at that time. And so during that time, Aryadeva appeared and Aryadeva became his heart son. And Aryadeva was born miraculously. So there's 4 types of taking birth. There is taking birth in a womb, and taking birth through heat and moisture, taking birth in an egg, and taking birth miraculously. And Aryadeva took birth miraculously. So during that time in India, there was a great Buddhist university, the Nalanda University, and that was the main seat of the stronghold of the Buddhist teachings of Buddhism. And Nalanda was very significant for the preserving of the Buddha's teachings. So it was said that when Nalanda declines, then also the Buddha's teachings will decline. So the Nalanda University was the most important establishment of Buddhism at that time. And Nagarjuna was a Kempo, a scholar of the Nalanda University. But before he actually reached there, during that time there was a non-Buddhist philosopher, a Dirtika called Taiyang. He was a great scholar himself, a non-Buddhist scholar, and he was so powerful that no one was able to defeat him in debate. And that was because he was practicing this worldly god Shiva. And so of the various types of siddhis, there's basically 2 types of siddhis or attainments, the supreme attainment and the common attainments. He has attained the common attainments through this practice, the common siddhis. And with that siddhi, he had full power over debate. No one was able to defeat him in debate. And so once he announced his arrival to Nalanda to debate with the monks there, and the monks already knew about that, so they wrote a supplication to Mahakala on some paper, and then they sent that letter to Mahakala with a black bird to bring it to Nagarjuna, asking him to come to Nalanda University to debate this great Tirtika scholar. So at that time, actually, Nagarjuna was together with Aryadeva, but not at Nalanda University.
다 되게 대소들라 조바 mambo 쪼고 여러 지주 지록 다다데 남바 땅 다다 남바 지스더니 남바가 나로라 대바 최종이 여러 되게 나로라 조바 mambo 쪼고 여러 애니 다 남바 마인 방아란서 논 보디스 라도 소와 마텍바 대소라 다 조바 쇼 쪼고 여러 되니 조바 섭하마 예나 되니 되게 지록도 매바 땅도 여러 대 매바 땅도 다다 나랭달라 다 조바 쪼용데 다양케 송아예나 되니 나렌다 차상대 다다데 코란케 되니 쯔드 차나 갈라고래 되니 달 호마제나다 되니 코란게 지스 요고요 용조데 되니 다다다 나렌다 되니 차용데 닌카 쳔보 차용데 되니 사텔 탄팅 고용데 틴들 로로글 살은 요 되니 로로그 다 곰잡 되니 요네 되니 간둑 고사레 곰 되니 제용데 되니 로로그 문슈그 토네 단 쳔베 예시그 토네 코레랑게 담마데 다양한 조바 제와에는 라크고 뭐동 쳔바래 가인시나 담마데 다양데 라크고 와에나 근데 징지를 제대와 지로와 나치를 마요마
징지고래
징지고 요래 나치를 제와 제가 라크고 요마래 징지를 제와 제고 요래 근데 로본로도 다 아얀데와라 깐나와래 다 치랑 로고 그래 시트라인데 마데 파테그 테니 고발을 때네 다 나렌다 된 쟁도고 요래 내 저랑 마성은 되니 된쟁도고 이렇게 저랑 로고 그래서 깐낭 된데세 근데 대 다다디 아야데와 콤 마페번 내나 근데 로본로도 다 아얀데와니다 다다 칸다 디베드 쪽으로 소바초 칸다 다 용단도 나와래 용단낭 근데 로본로도 다다디 마텍바 임바나 예세 담자를 요 근데 아얀데와 그 소바초 된데세 용데 다 로본로도 그다 서로 마텍바 그 빼샤트서 차만 챙겨 요래 용조 엔 챙겨 요데다 아얀데와 그 조바 조용데 되니 다 로본으로 못해 봤다 임바나지 내고 요라 담자zon다 근데 아야 내가 그 라케 그 요마래 로본으로 근데 라면 그 마세 다 아야 내가 그 삼는 디상어래 다 나게 라만데 못해 봐 차송 삼르다 고랑 셈나 근데 셈 열성 요사래 아야 내가 그 라마 그 바지 아니 또랑 함고도 철백데 로본으로 걸 시작하래지
로르골라
될 로진나는 요래 되는 걸 시작하래 라고 요래 아니 대인데 로본으로 못해 봐 차요 말데나 담자 때 송송으로 와 로본으로 그다 지랑 송데 간다르 나렌다 유니버시티 지랑 그 좁아 손은 다양 지랑 그 라케게 요래 되니 텔 레랑 몰랑 그 대화 요래 송 요래 지랑 몰람 쳔보 요래지 아니 콤페와 있는 되게 요 말해지 아니 지랑 다 랑가네 로 내가 지랑 파체 쳔보지 용거래 송아래 간이선은 다다 공그 다 한국 bên 로본으로 시작하러 와 될 때는 지랑 파체 쳔보지 용거래 랑가네 로 값서 옛날에 파체도 솔 타야 그 뒤요래 지랑 손을 로본 만나면 좁아 좁혀 손을 땅 잡아래
Tikabla aya deva keso.
이렇게 요래
Look do. Tarom damso. So at that time there was a lot of debate in India within Buddhism and also between different Buddhist, between different other philosophies. So within Buddhism there was a lot of debate between the Hinayana and the Mahayana vehicles. And then also there was a lot of debate between Buddhism and the non-Buddhist philosophies with the Tirthikas. And so at that time it was the rule that whoever was defeated, their religion, their view was destroyed. So nobody could follow that view anymore. So that would mean if in the Nalanda debate, if the scholar Dayang, the Tirthika, would win the debate, then all the disciples of the Nalanda University would have to give up their previous views and would have to follow Dayang's view, would have to become his disciples. So there was a great danger for this to happen. And so in any case, this bird was sent off with supplication, and then it reached Nagarjuna. At that time, Nagarjuna was in meditation, and he saw in his meditation with his clairvoyant, omniscient wisdom, he saw that there was no chance for him to defeat Dayang. And the reason is, what he saw with his clairvoyant mind is that no person that was born through a womb could actually defeat him. And the only person that could defeat him would have to be someone that was born miraculously. And so Aryadeva, in fact, was born miraculously. And so he commanded Aryadeva to go there instead of him for the debate. And so before he left for the debate, Nagarjuna and Aryadeva were practicing debating. So Nagarjuna then pretended to be the Tirthika, and Aryadeva was the Buddhist view holder. And so Nagarjuna really wanted to train him well, and so he took a very strong commitment to only debate according to the Tirthika's view. And actually Nagarjuna was well versed in the Tirthika scriptures, he knew them all. And so he debated Aryadeva. And then Aryadeva could not win. Nagarjuna, who took this Tirthika vow at that time for the practice purposes, he won. And so that made Aryadeva a bit angry, and he thought that actually he was so convincing, he thought that Nagarjuna actually became a Tirthika, he became non-Buddhist. He thought that my guru's mind has changed, he was so convincing. So in his fit of anger, he picked up his shoe and hit Nagarjuna on the head with his shoe. So actually Nagarjuna did not really become a Tirthika, but that was just his commitment for training purposes. And so in any case, Nagarjuna then sent him off to debate in Nalanda University, and said that due to the power of karma and aspirations, it will be accomplished. However, at first, on your way there, you will encounter some obstacle. And that was because he hit Nagarjuna on the head with a shoe. But then you will be able to overcome these difficulties. So with that, he sent him off.
Ini tata de ayah dewata sobat lamgani pemdo kapsa tar lobo lodo sonro parche chembo chi yongore chirang tata de Kandar Hango Lodol Shijarwa take it in. Any Takon Langani Pemdo Nekabla, any that deck lebjin like the Nugu Chomtortina. Any deck lebjin Chomtortin, then the Kandar, then Langani that make me bachek. Any to do check it out, Zog Nasa show Janathan, I and they were in Dangton the Yumare. Then I'll make it Naroji, then it's hands here, and that show record she or I and Devala. The I and Devaketa, not the Sancho Sambatomba Shitsawat, and it's Semji Yindon, Kandar, Chi the Simji Yindon Chita, Sancho Sim the Gene, Simji Yindon, Nanking Kanza, make the Mateva and Sancho Sem the Yamdosare gone, and the Konginji Chimbo tell Maine. Then you can make the tone and Nangjavares. Then it parched the test on race on your. Then you call that Nalenda Pavilion Negala, Tayang Nalenda Patches on Sayur Chasang, such a Subate to your mare. And Chasang Koranga Lomano Patches Chasayure. And it did not all that. I and they were loving the Tini, Tayanta Shogan Homotella, Lakan and loving on the Korang, Tini dinner, Nalatsuba Song, Drain Dorsing, Tohasavat in the US and Tini Mayos on the Tini, I and they were. Then you can go to Batsuares. That's Sobatsu Satasol Pet, Sobato Shego, and Trajebo show your terrain, Ted Chasang to Sung Gondo and Madopa and Mazor Mojek and Namta Land over the test some Janra. Sobatsu, and it's Sobatsu, and that Zimter Mambon, Zimter to Chasang, I and they were top. And Toyota Latayang Sama Pamne, any I and they were Koran Pemzuna Chogavare. Pemzu Euro. So the Pemzu Pechatasatep, the Gun and Logiavare. Then in Mate Tayang geta the Pam Netini Koran Ranshi Jago Samreta called Joba Chimbo show your Koran that Kera Chimbo show Chandu Yoro and Zamala in such a Benda Mevakera Chandu you did in Koran Pamne. And Koran Ranshi Jago Sant and Resitini, I and they were Koran Pemzun and Chokos on Pemzun and Chogyadi. That Pemzun and Koko Pechatas and there is a Matic law you are. Then in law you when they call the Sanjak and Dochik and Alola. Then in Maon Balata, Kandar Nalinda, then it and Duke, Lobda Chimbo. University to do younger age, then it did not all the time, but take Tayan Layaji to do Yone, and take a tema J younger age, did neglect any iron devacat in this in a Kandar Matek Tayan, the Suba Done, and the number can take about the young Tarjin Java Chagre, so the Sanjak Londin Nanja to do Debject Tony or Koranga. Then the Koran Pem, Sepa Tebachi, Sanjela, the law mambo to do any pet savari, did neglect Tadan to Chasang in the new song Sandos, and any Koran iron devac Loma Cha, and Jesus kepa chimbo to the chaware, Lamneta number Katemba, Sawa Chimbo save, Chiva Chimbo Somare.
So then Marideva was on his way to the debate in Nalanda. So then, however, Nagarjuna had predicted that on his way he will encounter an obstacle because he has hit him over the head with a shoe. So on the way, he met with like a form, an emanation of a god, Liji. And he said he had no eye, and so he was in a lot of pain. He lost his eye, and he said, please give me your eye. And he was prostrating and making offerings to him. Please give me your eye. And so Ayadeva then considered that I have taken the bodhisattva vow, and it is my vow to benefit others. I've given rise to bodhicitta. If I would not give him my eye following his request, then I would lose my bodhisattva's vow. So thinking in this way, he took out one of his eyes and gave it to him. So that was the obstacle. In the meantime, at Nalanda University, since that took up some time in the meantime, the scholar Taiyang probably already defeated most of the people there, and most of the monks had already become his disciples. So the Buddhist view was more or less defeated at that time. And then finally Aryadeva arrived at Nalanda University. And so one time in the morning, then when Taiyang came to the temple, he said, is there any new monk who is ready for a competition? And then Ayadeva stood up and said, I'm here to compete with you. So actually there's so much to be told about that, and we can't take up too much time about that story because we still want to talk about Rinpoche's story. But just to summarize it, Aryadeva then performed various miracles, and he won on all aspects of the competition, and Taiyang was defeated. And because Aryadeva defeated him, he was so distraught that he even wanted to commit suicide. He had already become so famous around the world, and now he finally was defeated. And so he was overwhelmed by this thought, and he was thinking about committing suicide. And so at that time, then Aryadeva was in the library, and he called him in. Aryadeva found a scripture there, a sutra, words of the Buddha, and in there he found this prophecy by the Buddha himself, and the exact story was told in that sutra. And so the Buddha predicted that in the future there will be this university called Nalanda, and there will be a Tirthika called Taiyang who will come there and who will cause the Buddha's teachings to decline. But then there will be Aryadeva who will come and debate him, and he will defeat him. So again the Buddha's teachings will spread. So it was all very clearly already predicted by the Buddha. And when Taiyang heard that, he gave rise to great devotion. And he thought that so many years ago, the Buddha already knew everything that was going to happen. So he was so moved by that he became a Buddhist. He became Aryadeva's disciples, and then later actually became a very great Buddhist scholar and engaged in many Buddhist activities to spread the Buddhist teachings.
아니 다다다데 아얀 대화시에서 녹함 소선 가르치 렉스터 송도 지딩 그 투세 지댕 바송 요르다 녹함 소선 가르치 렉스터 송야데 다단 가르치 rinpoche데 가르 동주들레 아니 통화레 송고 요레 데 가르치 다들 로지 망보 요레 가이스나 지자 송생 감고 롱봉 갈롱 르파치 아니 코란 그 동주데 마 감솔라스 포스 감솔라 요레 감고솔라 에 데 주바 망보 제긴 조라 다단 가르치댕 받을 때는 총아래 가르치댕 받은 총네 때는 공 좁은 지딩 숨공 거 로마 차버린 가르치댕 받에 디스는 때는 독함 소선 가르치레서 저서야는 독함 라디 보이샤솔라고 요래 애는 지딩 공부 그 두세 라디다 세그 토나오 애는 지딩 공부 그 두세의 지댕 받에지 다다다데 임세의 가르쳐가라는 지딩 숨공때 루드롭 그 남토린 바 아니 살보 요래 배자 가시게 나로로 요래 지딩 숨부 건 총네 애는 총 차와 다다다데 자와시랍데 차르지 로 용아래 송고 요래 자와시랍이라 우마 자와시랍데 네 우마 자와시랍데 차르지 로는 다가 다다양 우마 자와시랍 지문도 송는 던데 송고 처리 요래 지딘 송고 남다가 나로라 에테나 이제게 다단데 두공그 사자다나 나가즈나 라고 요래 나가즈나 칠롱 나가즈나 다다아존 에테니 초도 좀 두공그 초마 밤도 요라 로마그 초 티초도 소게니 다텔라 다단데 나가즈나 람 루도근 세인데가
콜라고도 초대
초대가 다다다게 데 다위 짐센데 다다데 지틴 숨고다 조바 조야게 치데 사자 밴드다 페브레 조요르와 르공라 아니 페비용데 다 조바 조고 상데 지틴 숨고 깨다 첨부 쇼지 차용데 델 조바 조고 상 사자 밴지 페비용데 아니 르공고 롬반 달라르데 테니 초그다당 사다 세우도 소그다는 니용데 아니 나가존나 그 다다한다고 요레지 아니 사자 벤치 그 다트서 하고 요레 다트서 하고 할 때는 단데 나야 송아예나 소바 파미아렌도 지틴 송고는 소반 렌다 요사마린 곰볼로 그 남터 렌도 대외 땅가 야 롱도는 나랑라테니 곤직들 가파치 토고도 고나테니 곤직을 가파던데 지틴 나와레
각바
각바 다단데 사자케 domsom라비라야지 요레 곤직을 가파jam데 티야지 요레
가르 domsom 요레
domsom라비
domsom 라비에
라비에 라나 파스 다 카갈 세용 거요라 양다바다 양바다바 마잉바 근데 그 대직티 나와레 공거 근데 지딘 송고는 다 대값을 좁아 쫑게 망보 펴바레 개바던데 펴네 되니 차장들 로마 차송아레 가이스는 좁아 좁 마고 돈이 고란 잉그 로마 차는 거 요레 공 지딘 송고인데 루드로그 남터 임바데 사보텐데 세네 다 로지도 나는 용거 요레지 근데 단 가르치된 바데 tinne kala ayan dewa 그 남터 임바다 근데 세네 땡거 요레지 근데 대지다디 지간도 되시잖아
So I did, what is it before? Donga, Dikavadong.
Dokam Sosum Garchen Rinpoche.
So the one known in the Holy Land as Aryadeva, so that was that, and then emanated into the Gar clan of Eastern Tibet as Chedingpa. Can I put this somewhere else? As Chedingpa, the heart son of Chigten Sumgun. Now this Eastern Tibet and as Chedingpa, and now the lineage goes on. So later on, so first he was Aryadeva, and then later on he was born as the heart son of Chigten Sumgun as Chedingpa in Eastern Tibet, that is in the Kham region. And so this is then when the line of the Gar begins. So he was born in the Gar clan. This is when the incarnations of Gar then begin. And from there on, there were many stories. So it actually began at the time of the king Songtsen Gampo, when he was the minister Gar Dongtsen. And so then he was born in the Kham region as Chedingpa, as Chigten Sumgun's heart son later on. Chigten Sumgun then, so there's this connection between Aryadeva and Nagarjuna here appears again. Nagarjuna was actually reborn then as Chigten Sumgun. Chigten Sumgun was an incarnation of Nagarjuna, and that is also clearly explained in various scriptures. It is said that when Lord Chigten Sumgun was born, when he was very young already, he was able to read the Madhyamaka text, the Umatsava Sherab, the Sanskrit, the root text of the wisdom of the Madhyamaka. And so he was able to, he always had that in his mind. So by memory, he was able to already recite that at a young age. And then also in Drikung, the area of Drikung, there is this river flowing, and apparently this river gives off the sound of Nagarjuna. So it says like kind of Nagarjuna. When you listen to the sound, it sounds like Nagarjuna. And so where that comes from is that at the time of Chigten Sumgun, a contemporary of Chigten Sumgun was Sakya Pandita. And Sakya Pandita, he heard about the great fame of Chigten Sumgun, and he thought that I should really go to Drikung and debate him. And then he went there, and when he reached Drikung, he first reached that water, that river, and he heard that river gives off that sound, Nagarjuna. And so he thought that there is probably no point in debating him if he is Nagarjuna. I probably will not be able to defeat him, so I better go back home and instead compose a refutation of his view. So then he went back home and he wrote a text called dissecting or taking apart the three vows. Anyways, it is a refutation on the Gongchik, Chigten Sumgun's text. And so during that time, actually many disciples, many later disciples, many people came to debate him. And when they reached Chigten Sumgun, nobody actually debated him in the end. There was no need for any debate. They all naturally became his disciples. And so there's many stories about how Chigten Sumgun it really is an emanation of Nagarjuna. But so this is how the connection comes about between Nagarjuna Aryadeva and Chigten Sumgun and Chedingpa.
Tada de saja pente ke ta ke tiya jo ji yoro dong song rabie. Te gonje le zoba zo yoro ta te zoba te zo yong de saja pente ta ke zo chi chi de nga zo ndorwa log li yibya se nerwa. Se ke zoba zo cher song ne tene ka pa ja yong are. Jitin song go gonje na lo le zo cher de nang nyam ning ke kala nang song yin de pe chebar chen bo yoro ko. Se ke zoba zo cher se ne xie yong yin de gonje de saja pente ta ke zoba zo ju de ta da jo go yore. Yena yan jidin sunggung ke se ke zo cher se ke yo le zo cher song yo ma nang sem de cher sam lo tang de nang sem nyam ling ke kan song song yin de. Ni saja pente ta ke ta song ya wa ke zoba de ta da de ke mo do song ne ta nyam ling ji de so mang bo je ke song go yore. Pem song dao xwa yena nga so de ropa ka ju ke ta top che ji te ro ko. Ropa king lek la na ro nyong ba ro che khu che ta ma la re pa na yin yo ro. Then Kong Songare, Sabjung Gombon, Dragon La, Songare, Sajo Tosom Sanjo, someone Joban Jidin Songola, and it's Sama Topa, Saja Park, Zubatsu, the Peri, Song Yure. 근데 송여 저 공도다 대 배장 거든도 나는 요래 삽중 공본도 공라 사마도 사자바 이수 송네 근데 이제 대소 소제니 다단로 요래 소제니 양도고 요 말에 때 파스 양 사보로 지시고 아니 다단 제된 송공급 송야와 그다 땡행 요래 땡행도 소양 다다 카시제 나는 사자번 개발제 그 드리 송도 땡행도
사자 개발하는
땡행도 사자번 개발제 그 드리도 송야도 가시나나 때 사자 개발제 드리라야 돼요 사자 그 개발된 제된 송공급 로마 차네는 제된 송공급 송야와 같이 돼서 이토록 밥용 왔던데 자그 요래 대인데 양 사자부 개발 연이제도 되죠 많이 바간다 대 개발도 전 지리송고 로마 차사분 요로 되는데 지리송고 공부도 마 땡행 차대 다 땡행도 공제 라야 되는 지리송고 다 냠내다 티삼나사 그 용조지 차그 요로 되지
So there's Sakya Pandita wrote his refutation on the Gongjik, on Thigten Somgön's Gongjik, called like the divisions of the three vows. And so in general the Sakya view, or this at that time this the assertions of the Sakya view were mainly focused on the outer practices according to the Vinaya teachings. And Thigten Somgön's Gongjik was mainly focused on the inner aspects of practice. So Thigten Somgön was very skilled when it comes to the inner aspects of actual practice. And so if one would only focus on the outer aspects of outer modes of conduct according to the Vinaya, then probably the Sakya could not really be defeated and could not really be held as wrong. But if one thinks, if one views this refutation or this debate from the actual practical perspective, according to Thigten Somgön's view, then also the view of the Sakya focusing on the outer aspect is not tenable. So at that time, actually, there was another Drukpa Kagyu Siddham, the Siddha Drukpa Kunlek. He was a bit of a crazy yogi like Milarepa, and he wrote something like a verse, and he said that, so there he comes and tries to debate Lord Thigten Somgön, the Drikungpa, who has reached the 10th bhumi, where he himself, the Sakya, has not even reached any bhumi. Isn't that something? So from the one hand, one could say that from the outer perspective that the Sakya had a point, but then from the other perspective, from the inner perspective, that point was not tenable. And so actually also Thigten Somgön composed a major text called The Essence of the Mahayana, the Denyin, and some say that this actually was composed by a Sakya scholar. But actually how that happened is that first he was a Sakya scholar, and then he became Thigten Somgön's disciple, and after he became a Drikung disciple of Thigten Somgön, he recorded the essence of the Mahayana teachings according to Thigten Somgön's view. So that was someone who has already studied and has learned like all the Drikung teachings. Actually, it was not strictly speaking a Sakya practitioner at that time any longer, but formally Sakya, and then he became Thigten Somgön's disciples at the time when he wrote down the Denyin.
No, ya tene 대근 요로 다다다 되시야 예 다다다 롬보체 그 로징이스 토용 요런데네 다다 그 금탱 디그 토라 아니 다 인핀 다왕 가르친 샵딘 송 조다 롬보체 다 인핀 인의 펜싱 다다 내가 소 롬보체 그 데모 다다 크스티나 조야 데 디르와 인핀 맹 대야 차도 야포도 맹 인핀 라는 단 가르친 롬보체 인핀 코나세 다데 다다 금탱도 조 치시데 다 인핀 코나 러와 심지 인동 코나를 매겨와 아니 네 간데스네리 손다 다다 장모로 뭐지 근데 손도 콘초 템베 진저도 다 콘초 템바 라야 된 가지는 뭐지 근생리 콩드니 단 총사때 샤르손의 총용으로 해서 샤르 탈은 공발 파절상 샤르손이야 다데 냥아다 잔로고 요래 냥아라 보게로서는 배 냥보도 아니나 인척길 다다지 바제 되게 요즘 말에 다 샤르손이 뺀 나와대야 샤르손이야 샤르용거와 대나 인책 되는 가지는 뭐지 다보 샤르손이야 건 총용화래스. 근데 다와대야 샤니야 샤용화이나 했더니 다와대가 반 잠발랜데 참로도 그 가와이나 통도와 Then I yin chicken Garchen Rinpoche, then the Yimping and Zeba Trenle pan Zamalena, and the Davana, Yipa Cham Rogres, on the Tate Mahombaga, London Rochi, Sarbochi Chagayores.
And so then in the next verse, we come to the actual life of this Garchen Rinpoche, of this incarnation. So the full moon ornament of the Three Jewels teachings is exalted above the crevasses of the eastern mountains, yet its cool rays nurture the white lilies of the lower slopes. May Garchen, the moon that benefits others, live long. So the moon that benefits others, or the benefit of others, that is really the essence of Garchen Rinpoche. For example, also this is the name really given to the film on Rinpoche's life that Christina made, for the benefit of all beings. So that's really an excellent name, because that is really his essence. That is really the most important practice that really is the signature of his life in a way. This really represents him fully. And so at that time also His Holiness Chedzen Rinpoche already knew that such a one will spread the world. So he is the full moon, the ornament of the Three Jewels teachings, and he's exalted above the crevasses of the eastern mountains. And so in the Tibetan language, at least, there is this has sort of like a melodious sound. It sounds very very poetic. Maybe it's a little bit different. It's hard to put it in the same way into English, but it is like a metaphor for Garchen Rinpoche. He's like a moon that is exalted above the crevasses, it spreads around the entire world. So the moon that goes beyond all the mountains, the eastern mountains. Anyone in the world can see the moon, so the moon is all pervasive. And so that refers to Garchen Rinpoche's altruism that pervades the entire world. So actually here already there is a prophecy for the Garchen Rinpoche's future activities.
Teji tati o te tsikang te la togi tamsom yung long la kor kesung zansom tropu kocha ge. Teni tenzeng namsom jamsun jengda te ngedong rumen garchin shapti sho zada ta te tsikang te ge Rinpoche ge tatan zaipan tenle kante ji nang yuwa tesu chasang ji sabu ting yung doa togi tamsom yung long la kor sonde ta semji yindong la sochir mewa ma to pa ke rang ge chi te teni 차마 르땅낭 요거도 아르모체게 르땅낭 요거 요래 다드소 로진다고 시와이는 힘마다 가서 중종 값스다 르모체 볼이 요거 값스다 로지망보 쇼요래 되는 땅 가서 빼는 냠냠다고 시와이는 가 다파세 차르와게 질라더니 다 진데 르모체 요라게 디수지야 요마를 공팔라 대야서 로로다고 선제데 요야 디수 요마레지 아니 다 마망도서 레와카야치 가와이나 페그레 아니 라파르다 제 간다르 솔 동하체 요와 되니 솔 강하체가 요와다 저소그체 되니 루당낭 용으로 보내려와 참아 루당 펴고 요로 뱀송라고 시와이나 땅가서 종바도 솔다 따바 르바 솔 펴고 요래 단 추데라네 대망보 쇼지 요래 때다 흐마그 로솔라 되니 가르곰바게 곰바테 되니 단 추데 망보지 요윤데 데도 솔라 르바 니시선 소고 요로 로르라 근데 저반 소나 땅가서 로네가 종바질을 들은 저반 소나 아니 년간 소고 요래 주수 딩바네 고존데 공다 주수 제바 마토고 바로 따단 소고 요래 년공 칼라사야 주수니 공생세로 마도 바 차상 소고 요래 아니 들은 소용데 다 주수 년간 로모치 저바던 소나 아니 체나 따드나 종바가 마망도 솔라 동하요도 가시에 뭐 종송아 요래 가시에 양 내바 요래 तेना ये जगह खासे के ता चे yang कोरान सो के माओ पचे देजा के चे yang rumro do ya tan de के चे de ne xin ni ta lang de yo re but chang kha shu yo re ne de 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 tang mamang cha sang ji shu ge yo ma re ta rom bo ji nyang gang de ban so nan chen chi su de ba de ne chi su je ba ne zong de ne ta sro go kha ni go do yo re ma ta so ta de kap sam nga so mo da de ta ya yo ma re ta ni wo yin ne kong pa jan de phem do yo re chi su se ge slam kan do yin na 아니 지수 니 som's 랑가 얘네들이 다 저기 다 형의 펴고 요래 다 던데 펴네 아니 chisu jeba ni mati yonde ta goba ni phagatan masang dana mara karin nango yona ka kala namja tongchun sogo go yore khajela yang job sogo go yore khajela namja tongchun sogo go yore sina
가르쳐 그래?
namja tongchu
남자 돈 그때.
hon sina ta ngaso de namja tongchu sani sogo do sipa somna ni khajela te tongchu den sogo go yore khajela yang job sogo go yore khajela hechon sogo go yore mo chong song jo de sol ta nepa ga re yena de phaje namja tongchu sogo yore 뭐 정성요 얘는 때문에 해종 소거 요를 다 마망 코란 소양 제 진된 로르의 그 내름 등 그 지的 근데 양쪽당 다든 그 초바만 보진 소거 요는 지수 거반이 바가 마상 지는 고정소나 근데 초바 때다 간다 링통 양쪽 나온 초바 얘는 마상 솜 이어들 이제 거는 지나 저 표현의 효과 지수 나파 바로 표현 말했잖아 나나 Tini ngapa ni tupa pardala chizu chek sa chek lolo si yogore tini zem rao ko ta zem zina pa zozo gom ya yong derwa en chizu tupa ni yang jang go chong rore nimba ni go chong rore rupa yang rupa go ni chasang yogore tende sin choban so nang go yore ta nga so taha tham je ri khoya yo mare thang chen tini cho som no go cho chek rombo che ge chapsalon ro cho chek de ta rupa cheng teng zong go ro 생태인 종 제도 고마질 메소자 텐데세는 다 리콜고 뭐 송가 레미 송존나 로고고 요래 다한 따바르 집과 그 지는 라케야 요 말이고 텐데 강아 요래 텐데 그 돈에 다 제바장도 펴고 요래서 얘는 pen 인핑이 지다
So then next verse says, casting to the wind all concern for food, clothing, and fame, he is girded with the armor of wisdom, morality, and a good heart, as firm in the three samadhis as the ocean is deep. May Garchen lamp flame of definitive meaning live long. So that verse actually clearly shows what Rinpoche actually is doing, his activities, his enlightened activities, that are only aimed for the benefit of others. And there's no concern for himself at all. He only is concerned about the welfare of others. So there's actually so many stories about that, also from the time when Rinpoche was still in Tibet. Just to give like one example, when I became a monk in Tibet, Rinpoche was still in Tibet. Rinpoche actually was not just staying in the monastery and relaxing. He actually never rested in the monastery actually, but he would follow every request that people would ask him for. He would travel all over the place to do various pujas and practices to help people, and especially those with the greatest difficulties, the greatest suffering. He would let everything be. He would throw everything away and just leave and help those people. And so during that time, there was this tradition to practice, to do various retreats in different districts, like kind of Dharma districts. There were about 20 of those districts at the time, and 20 places, and we would various places, and so we would do 20 different retreat practices throughout the year in various different villages. There's all kinds of different villages, and we would just travel around and then practice various retreats, different practices for that village. And so basically Rinpoche and the monks, they had to practice doing their puja all day long, every day. We would start at 7 in the morning and end at 8 in the evening. And we would have like maybe 2 hours of lunch break. And apart from that, the whole day we would just do puja. And at 8 p.m. we would end the puja. And then after 8 p.m. Rinpoche would travel to the local people who invited him at that time. So they were already all lining up and waiting for Rinpoche to visit their home if he was in that village. And so there were people who were dying and people who were very sick, and they all asked Rinpoche to come and do a puja at their place. And so people were lined up, and they were waiting on the doorstep the moment we were done with the puja at the monastery during our retreat. So during the daytime, we would do our regular retreat, our puja, and at nighttime, people were already waiting to invite Rinpoche. And so during that time, there were no cars, we had to walk. So if it was close by, if it could be reached within 30 minutes, then Rinpoche would walk there. And if it was further away, if it would take like 2 or 3 hours, then he would ride on horseback. So we finished the puja at 8, so he would get to whichever home around 9 o'clock. And then he would do puja for them. For example, if they are sick, then he would do like a Nam Gyalma, this 1,000-fold offering of Nam Gyalma that we are doing the next week. Or if they wanted to have more wealth and so on, then he would do a wealth practice, summoning wealth. Or if somebody was dying, he would practice Shitro for them and so on. He would do all kinds of pujas according to their requests. So he would get there like 9 in the evening, and then maybe 3 or 4 families would gather together for that puja. And then he would do that all night long, and he arrived back at our retreat place at around 5 in the morning. And then between 5 and 6 he was resting, but not really sleeping, really he was meditating. And then at 6 he would get up again, at 7 our puja started again. And so actually that was too much to handle even for one attending monk. So we actually had to take shifts to attend him. Nobody could do whatever he's doing. Not one monk could do what he was doing. So we had to take turns. So some of us were doing some of the night sessions. Some of us were going with Rinpoche, and some would rest or practice during the day. So we would have at least 3 shifts of monks traveling, taking turns with Rinpoche. There was not one attending monk who could always go with him. So this is how Rinpoche's activities of altruism have been.
So we don't have time so much. A little bit, one story I'll share. I'm using my English, okay? So we do lots of drupchins in Tibet at that time. So the villages invite Rinpoche. Actually, this is already culturally. Next time he visits so many families. Like we do Namja Tongchu, like we're going to do method, right? This puja, and we can do only one finish next time. Like other short pujas, we visit 3-4 families. Do puja and finish other and go there, starting again. 1 month, 2 months needed to go before, make thoma, everything prepare. When we get there home and the Rinpoche starting chanting and do puja, everything, then finish, just ready to go to another family. So like that, we visit lots of families, Rinpoche, every night. So many monks, Namjar Tongchu needed to go 10 months together, right? So others like 2-3 months together, but we go with Rinpoche like 25 months or 30 months, but still we're very tired. So one day is like another village. We have a drupchin. When we do the drupchin, the middle 2 rows is very important. Usually the either older monks stay this middle 2 lane. So Rinpoche see like this way, and the middle 2 lane is very important. So all either monks, and especially the cha masters and all the ritual symbols is needed to stay this row. And the young monks need to stay behind the area. So that time, one village, I was very youngest, That time, Rinpoche needed to go next and visit some family. So he asked me, you need to go with me. So this role is very important. So they needed to tomorrow join the puja. So you needed to come with me. I don't know where going, When we finish puja, the 2 horses, 2 horses that people bring in the outside. So then when we finish puja right away, then we ride the horse, going to. So luckily we have a moon, it's in the sky. So then crossing one mountain, I didn't know where going. They all the way go down in the village, Velu, right? They all the way go to another side. It's 3 hours on the way to take horse and cross on the mountain and down. And when we get there, it's the middle of the night. And then get there, it's a very, very high, remote area. The nomadic family, 2-3 families in there, It's nobody go there usually. They only for rest animals, right? Rest the animals, right? The
cattle.
Yeah, cattle. That the simple to so sad is a robot and regular. Because remote dentition robot and the simple sad is a simple that low down yard so use that regular.
Yeah, there was no real civilization there. There was only yak and sheep and cattle, basically, and the nomads, the owners. There was nobody else there.
So when we get there, it's one going to in the wrong house, very small, tiny house, and the no light because the no torch. They use the butter lamps. And we get there, and then one person is sick in there. Then Rinpoche give blessing, chanting, and blessing. We chant there is stay there like 2-3 hours. Then come back on the way. So get in the practice place village already morning, and when morning section is is go to use the kangas. Then that time you needed to ready to go in the temple. When we get there in the home, it's exactly that time, So Rinpoche told me, you go to sleep, and I have to go to puja. So he directly went to the temple. So then I went to the sleeping. So whole day needed to sleep, right? Still cannot recover. So then another, not that. Then next night also just same thing like that. So many families invited, but this. People, ignorance really don't know, right? So we do like that. Whole, winter, like springtime, Rinpoche mostly stay in the monastery. We have 45 days summer retreat. So that time he stay only monastery. After that he go visit for all the villages and families, different monasteries. So we make drupchins, go to villages. We must have to have 30 monks with him. Otherwise, we can afford. So, it's, the dripchin needed to take 24 hours section. So, cannot stop, like not only 8 hours like that, right? So that way we practicing in Tibet. So then sometimes he wanted to go very far where we try to stop him, but cannot. Nobody can stop him. So he just go. And monks just need to follow him, So people go him, see him, they cry, and then ask strong and request him. Then doesn't matter how far, how difficulties. He say yes, I come. So then go. So he take like that very hardship, responsible. So that is really clear in this sentence. We right now, this one. So then we go to next one. 다다 딜라 디송도다 닝디 자티냐 텐네 감더 송도 다 닝디 라데 다다 데 니마게티 데니 산제게 때마다 냐 타번네 감더 르게 티수텔라 에니 토톱 도르제 타버 토르고죠 타페 마색바가 도르제 나인 데니 다펜 타보 효진 그 돈에 다 깔레 효지 송고 요 돈다인데 리미 템버 코르제 다기요다 리스 마체베 산제 템바 젤 토코리지네 데니 심진 인동을 메네 Rinpoche can say,
So then we go to the next verse. In this age of strife, when the victor's teaching faces hardship, through his powerful Vajra-like conduct, he takes on himself the heavy responsibility of the unbiased teaching. May Garchen, the son of the teaching, live long. So in this age of strife, it is the degenerate age. It is the age when the Buddha's teachings are declining. Nowadays, at this time, Garchen Rinpoche's conduct is powerful, like a vajra. That is a vajra because he endures any kind of difficulty. He is invincible. And so with that kind of vajra-like conduct, without tiring, he takes on himself the heavy responsibility of the unbiased teaching, that is, to spread the teachings for the benefit of others.
다다 디 공드나 제다 망치지데 고야 레라오도 디티 다디 공데로와 에나 티 나로니 책지를 데도 땡쟁 남송 라야지도 땡겐쟁 솜 as fame in the three samadhidoa te chik ma yin yang ti three ti som de kare na sam ya de cha sa ti som de man de che chi yin da di tengen zeng som la ya den di song go yure chi ge de yin ye ji tengen zeng si ro chi ju ko de yin ye ge tengen zeng ani long ko ken de na wa tengen zeng long ko ken de na wa tengen zeng zhu ge jong tengen zeng song go yure tengen zeng som zhu ge joy tengen zeng 다 디텐전 솜데 송사데 조 제시데 다다데 가랑소 마하 요가 다다데 마하 요가 아트 요가 아는 요가도 솜도와 딘 나로니 마하 요가 조제 되게 조그 나로라 지름 공부 내갑라 되니 띵엔전 솜도 내고 그래 솜도 띵엔전 솜고 고니 되니 지름 공고래 송야지 요래 되게 공도나 인제 엔다다 땡전 남송 라야데 용거 요래지
So everything in these verses so far actually was quite straightforward, easy to understand, except for maybe one thing in the previous verse. It says, as firm in the three samadhis as the ocean is deep. So I want to explain a bit the meaning of the three samadhis here. The three samadhis are first the samadhi of the Dharmakaya of the Buddhas, the Tathagatas. Second, the samadhi of the omnipresent, the all-present, or like everywhere present, Sambhogakaya. And then the samadhi of the cause of the Nirmanakaya, the causal appearance of the Nirmanakaya. And so there's three different types of yoga. When we practice the generation stage, there is the Maha Yoga, the Anu Yoga, and the Ati Yoga. And so this here refers to the Maha Yoga practice of the generation stage. And according to that, the generation stage should be practiced following those three samadhis.
대지다 가서 대수시라면서 대인이 다다 tin yoga 시 yoga 신랍 데 라마 산송라 제도 다디 가장직 히 간다 단냠 신랍단 데 라마라 애니 덱 파체트 존 juk 고갑이요 말에 송요데 니 라마타 또바 줄을 요송게 애니 셈데 제도다 땡엔젤 존데고 네 통게데 예나 애니 덱 파체트 존 juk 토그 말에 송야 되게 돈다데 송고 요래 예나야 다단데 샵틴 삼야데 데니 장군 로보체게 가인세나 공게 되니 땜더르게 지에다 되니 이위에 넣었다는 가지는 보체라 되니 소완됐네 그래서 용어인데 요약을 소완되게 예소 애니 대근 요때라다 공부 소왔다와나 인제게 되니 건초 작솜송다 건초 솜다 자와솜 애니 그 투기게 뎀부터다 라바르드 되니 다단데 마하칼라 애니 취지 드마 다 앞서 취지 드마 뜻속에 님트 던들을 때는 되니 공그 다단데 샵딘 삼야와 되게 니 다그 셈그때는 삼야완데 그 되니 댕색 되게 되니 쳤다와 인도쇼 손에 되니 몰람낭 야바레지
So then we don't have so much time, so we move on to the next verse on page 88. There is no chance for demonic obstacles to affect the three secrets of the Lama who possesses blessings, yet in accord with the principle of auspicious interdependence, this wish-granting supplication is wonderful. So you mentioned that yesterday already, actually. This verse, there is no chance for demonic obstacles. And that is because the Guru's samadhi is unwavering and realization is high. Therefore, there is no chance for any obstruction by like demons or obstacle makers, hindrances, and so on. Nothing can obstruct that Guru. In general, and so here in this context, when His Holiness composed the long life prayer, this line also is a supplication, an auspicious supplication for the wish fulfilling jewel, Garchen Rinpoche, to live a long life. And then it says, through the compassionate truth and power of the 3 jewels and 3 roots, and through the might of Mahakala and Chugidolma, may these words of benediction made with pure heart be accordingly and spontaneously accomplished without hindrance.
야, 다 때 럼보체가 남탄 돌디제나 다다 테마도 티수요 말이야. 아니 드라인 다 나서데 쉬고야 때 짐신이 여러 책들 럼보체가 남타 책들 다다 때 드라인 다다 럼보체가 때 집신 드라마가 뭐그 아니 인공 까wan나야 유대 다다 왕 드롭 나는데 요래 다다. 아니 나서 드라마가 ngoptu 쉬고고 요래. 딱 ngoptu 때做这些的往那么搞是用个有的，往嘛人不这个 proven 的搞是用个有的，我说就是往个逻辑的说，就是需要嘛个话去，因为他这样的大家我说的工人个特别多，工人个特别有，因为这个哪路啦，看到人的热làm driver 送着的热làm driver，但是送他了人多的就有的对嘛，去现在上送对开全部修就这多。네 인데 ngaran soga la yadam kare nyamni sewa yena ya nenga chimbo shoji chadno de shi sowa yena tene kandar nga so kare sene la nyamni se gore la ya ta te guba chama te ne la byong ko yore o te inde de chi hina samsong.
So that in brief is Garchen Rinpoche's story. And so today we have mentioned that there is 2 things I would like to talk about, and one was Garchen Rinpoche's story. And then now secondly, Garchen Rinpoche will today offer the White Tara empowerment. Right now Rinpoche is actually doing the self-empowerment. And so with regards to the historical account and the practice of Tara, Garchen Rinpoche himself will explain that during the empowerment, so I will not go into the historical background of that now, but more in general talk about the practice of the deity, and I will use that. I will use this book, The Stages of Meditation, for that. So it's going to be based on that book. So that book talks about the basis, the path, and the result in brief. And that is very important. Whatever practice we engage in, whatever Yidam deity we are practicing, that is really very important. Because if you know that, then you really understand what is the significance, what is really the purpose of practicing a deity.
아 도리테 발아 얀 요용네 깔라 에네 딸 나단소 가르고 요러나 산조 셈 제고고 요래서 산조 셈 지울게 에네 산조 셈 지울게 데바 간자테게 따 라마크 송 야바 쿠송 토고 담색다 망가르와 에네 던르고 토니 소완데네 냠슬링고고 요래 에네 던르스 냠슬라와 예나 간다 라마테고 왕콜고도 담보 왕콜 니 라마테게 tamsing manyangwa ene mugida chebogoni nyamsalnawa yena ene chewa dengna ta nyamli mazewa yena ya tamsing machawa yena ngombar zoba sangjegre songo yore te inde te chia la tambo ngaran so de kandeji nyamlin si go go yote shi go go yore tomar kanda nga so gon da jing ping go wa yena bin de ngi sang go go yore sin da jaksa te tene da jaksa te ngi ma zong wa yena bin sharso lo yan da noble yo la ya ji yong go yore ten de ri song de ge yo marwa te yin de tomar ta da ngaran so ye lam de la ya som khal she go go yore te lak tene 곤용 야보지 째고 그래 마도 바게 대째 마도와 얘나 되는 거랑 속에 냠린시사 그 이전다고 등 정도 그 요말에 뒤서는 이 람데브송 걸은 돌듯이 시게 예인스.
So in the beginning, when we engage in the practice of the secret mantra, the Vajrayana, the skillful path, when we engage in the generation stage, the deity yoga practice, and first such a practitioner must cultivate bodhicitta and then supplicate to the guru with whom he has an undefiled samaya of body, speech and mind, and thereafter engage in practice. So first actually the guru confers the empowerment, and then the disciple observes the samaya. And it is said that even if the disciple has no opportunity to practice in this life, for as long as he does not allow that samaya to decline, as long long as he keeps his samaya, he will attain perfect enlightenment within 7 lifetimes, for as long as the samaya remains intact. So for this reason, it is important to know how to properly approach this, how to engage in practice. It is just like you're throwing an arrow. If you cast an arrow, you need to first determine your target. If you don't determine your target, then the arrow might be shot in the wrong way. So it's important to first know where you're actually shooting your arrow to. And that is like understanding the basis, the path, and the result. First, to have an understanding of that. If we don't really understand that, then we will not identify what is really the basis, the purpose of our practice. So for this reason, I will just briefly introduce the basis, the path, and the result.
근데 다 담보 때라 나서 이해된 게 좋은 거고 요래지. 근데 때라 이해라야 될 가래서나 이해라야 될 란제니 네베 이해니 칭돌은 데 봐서 거 요래다. 이해라야 될 담보 이해 도만이 가는 소리 내 대와. 근데 때 녀몽부 드발은 칭송하다 조르송하 대달 판대 대와 자가 요래. 이해 때라 녀몽부 칭대야 요 말이 조르대야 요 말이지. 근데 때 이해라고 요래. 칭돌은 데 봐서 도 근데 때 장고고 요래서 장이때 예 장이를 야고고 요래. 근데 람라야지 시 용고 요래. 다다데 람라야데 간다를 추외 따고 이미 저든 추와가 따 야와 예메 바나 낭용아. 근데 로워그 토마토소 송용고 요래. 로워그 토마토소 녀모그 드바다 시즈 드바라고 요래. 때 로워 남 장사 차다 요래. 그래서 파 장고 요래. 때 장고데 때그 중지 때라 근데 람라고 요래. 중지 때라 람 근데 람텔 다당아랑 소 지름 당 조름도 소 냠니세 용한테 람차가 요래 람. 근데 잔데 라야테 때그 잔자 그 반자다데 잔자 그 토마토소 파 장야와이나 근데 드레버드 쌀 용도 요래. 드레버데 다 지구 산제 차도 요래. 다데 농다데 가르송 거 요래 히와이나 나랑 소라 예도만에 산제 그 저도 요래. 근데 대 간달 녀모버 드마케 파 네바즈 요 말해. 예나양 lower tomato 그 drop 요아레스 람제 값을 토마토소 파 장고고 요레스 얘는 드레버 값을 다다 이어 값을 요아데서 쌀 용고 요레스 드레버 람데서 고 쌀용고 요레데 이어 값을 가서로 요데와더니 톱 용고 요르마도 빠게 매바제 양자를 쌀을 저거 요 말레스 어때인데 드르지 하고 공용제고 요리 질람대선네.
So in the beginning, we must first recognize, identify the basis. And the basis is our primordial nature that is pure and inherently and primordially, naturally. And it primordially, inherently, is beyond anything of bondage and liberation. It never has been in bondage, it never has been fettered, or it never has been defiled by any kind of emotions and thoughts. It never has been in bondage, and also there's nothing to be liberated. So it transcends both bondage and liberation. So that's the basis. The basis that is pure. So this is what we need to come back to, that basis. And then the path is now temporarily, due to the confusion of the mind, there are temporary obscurations or stains. There are basically two types of obscurations: the obscurations of the negative emotions and the subtle obscurations to omniscience. And these need to be purified, removed. And the agent that removes them is the path. So through the path, we are purifying the obscurations. And when they are purified, then we actualize the result. And the result is the revealing of the basis. The basis becomes revealed. And that is the Dharmakaya, the Buddha. To summarize that, we possess the cause of enlightenment, the basis, primordially, since beginningless time. However, temporarily, we are defiled by temporary obscurations of negative emotions and karma. And when they are removed, And when these temporary obscurations are removed through the practice of the path, then again the basis will reveal itself. So the basis which has already been there underlying will again reveal itself. So this implies that we are not actually creating something new that wasn't there before, but actually what was there before and has been obscured is newly revealed again. It reveals itself again. So that is the important point to understand when it comes to the basis, the path, and the result.
제도 다다pen 나랑 소다 산제레 라고 여러 여대시 님보 여러 심지 참아 산제레 다다 이역값을 다 찍바 차도 여래 시에 차와래 다 심지 참아 산제이마 다 나소 산제예나 아니 다 다다 데 여담 글라도서 가레신의 로고고 여래스나 다티 짐신데 쇼고고 여래 가인선나 데 라드럽sorter람 동다 망보지 여래 예나야 다 동다 님보도 데 야와예나 펜나 나랑소 간다를 대송고 여래 라라야 돼 애니 간다를 남들 이시지 끝이 나고 여래다 라라야 되게 단도 나랑서 도단데 람값을 장사 트마지도 왔대 팝빵차 애니 대빵네 남들 이시 그 공방톱 애니 유라 산초그 셈 애니 때나 인제 그다 닌지 전부 애니 제 챔피 이시 애니 인동 혼나를 맥대와 근데 유르제 대와 라차서래 나랑 솔 이어도 요아래도 대다 또 요 말이지 딱 나서 그 대다 마도와 인데 애니 라데 도고고 요래 라데 다 추바당 대바당 애니 드발라서 같은데 세고고 요래지 근데 세와 예나 되니 나랑 소양 다다데 라 대하나 인지 차토고 요래지 대 차토 짐생데 가르쳐 용거 요래라나 애니 나랑 소라 다다니 랑인가 산제게 저제난다 예담 그 라데 랑인데 가솔 요대와래 애니 매바체 사도 조고고 요 말에 요대와래 때 요아테 나랑 조고 응마생 와래 요대와데 가서 응생 요 말에 딱 응마생 애니 드베드 애니 코르네서 딱 동하르 끝났네 나랑 조 코르네서 참대 요와래 근데 나랑 조 동하르 끝난 요아 하마오 코르네서 동하르 참대와 인디 애니 예담 그 라라야 되게 산제 그 저요원 친바나지 드바빵 애니 심지 인동라 다 조기권이도 펴대요 와래 애니 심지 인동로 조건이도 펴대와 그다 롱주 조부거 주부거 남아니도 펴대와 예담 그 라테 가서 주바세와이나 나랑 소양 대하나이 차토야 그 저대 요대와래 어디서는 다 주바세고 그 요래
So there's three reasons, three points to that, why we need the significance of deity yoga, deity practice, why we need to practice the deity. So we have said that on the basis, we as sentient beings are really Buddhas. We all possess Buddha nature. On the basis, we are the same as the deity. We are Buddhas. So saying that we are actually Buddhas, then one might wonder, if we already are Buddhas, then why do we have to practice the Yidam deity? So there's generally many reasons for that and many ways to practice the deity. But in essence, the deity is a being that has actualized complete liberation and primordial wisdom, has realized with the wisdom mind. And the deity is a being that has completely eliminated, purified all the obscurations on the path and has achieved complete liberation and perfect wisdom. So therefore the deity possesses perfect bodhicitta, compassion, the omniscient wisdom, the altruistic mind. And so we have the basis for that, but we have not realized the nature of our mind, that basis. And that is the reason why we have to practice the deity. And that is why when we make offerings to the deity, we cultivate devotion, we practice the deity, then we can actually become the deity, just like the deity. We can become that because we already now possess Buddha nature. So our true nature inherently is is the nature of the deity. So when we are accomplishing the deity, we are not creating something new that was not there before. We are only recognizing what was already there before. So now it is already there, but we are not recognizing it because we are obscured. These obscurations must be purified. So because we are obscured, we wander in samsara and we suffer, not recognizing our true nature, which is the Yidam deity, which is Buddha nature. So that is what the deities who have actualized that see. They see that we all have that potential. They see that if we purify that, if we purify our obscurations, then we can become just like those deities. And so the deities have accomplished that. And so once that is accomplished, then for the benefit of others, naturally, the two Rupa Kayas, which is that form emanations, the Sambhoga Kaya and Nirmana Kayas, can manifest for the benefit of beings. So if we practice the deity, we can also become like that. And so that is a reason why we need to practice the deity.
Kapkala jimsin yi kam rogo yore kinzop ta de la nyamlin si sor tondam kana yin de la nyamlin si sor ni ya song go yore kapkala som ya song go yore sok kinzop ta dan de sok nyamlin de ni nang ge nyamlin de ni sam go ni nyamlin zo na som de de yong go do kan da sok nyamlin la ya de ngaran so hlat dain je nam kha lo gom ya ta de ni tel chu ba ta to ba nga da wa la so ba de so sok la ta nyamlin na wa zo go yore sok kinzop ta de nyamlin na wa si ene nang ke tondam tela ta ni se yana de ge yusare kain sana ene nang ke tondam tela ta nang ke nyamlin na wa ta sam go ni nyamlin na wa zo ni se yon yena ene ta da che de nang ke drupa tela ka de se ko yoro la na la te che ngarang so rang ke wo mo chong chör de song do wa de de se nyamlin se ya ka bo do de wo mo chong chör de song de ngarang so za wo ma ke chong chör de ene nimbo gandar yishi je long dang song nimbo de yishi ge long ene tigle ge dama de la teni rang mada bu go som kyo da je ba te pa jang dong ne teni gandar za som za ge ne da zo chi chi de za ge ne se teni ran yin ge yu ba la gen ko lo de zo je zang ko de zo la gen ko lo de zo gom ene da dan de 작은 콜로도 곰도네 냠린낭 용와다 조치시대 롱당 틱레 자당 틱레 애니 던르그 때니 애니 산조선 냠린낭 용와텔라 애니 낭그 총디 드바 송고 요래 다데 데서 가르치는 드시시야 당제 셈나는 선들이 들으지 선 남산서 샤얀라고 저 가보 용도 낭다 냠린나야데 애니 대그 요를 싸왔다 냠린나야지 요래 대대에서 간다 진행 알아서다 냠린 나야 조지지의 사제 전부 송고 요렇다 사제 전부 그나 인제가 용고 요래 상왔다 냠린 나야 돼 대를 가르 송고 요래라나다 간다 예담 글라데 에네 드롭데스 드르즈라데 나랑소 셈레 인데 좋아지 요 말해지 드르자 글라데 나랑소 그 셈대야랑 예담 글라데 차데 요래 송고 요래 ene te yinde ta sem te ge nelo te ngarang su sem ge nelo te arang yedam ge la cha de yore te le yinde jwa yedam ge la yo ma re song yinde da da rang ge sem ge ene shiba ngarang su sam no dong ye ge sem je do te ge nelo te arang san je re te le yinde jwa je san je lam ne ngarang su yor ge khala cha ya yo ma re nang ge sem ge nim bo an sem ge nelo sem ge rang yin 다다 나랑 솔로 요데와 대야랑 산제레 손의 송용고 요래 대인데 대 루야라 아니 간다 추바다 네바 또발라서 같은 가게 거요 말이 셈데 되니 곰 잡네 사제 쳔베 내로고 나나 되네 냠네 나와예나 되니 싸마고네 라든 드롭라나 다때셈 도시카네 용고 요래 대 진den다 로모제까지 마보지 난거 요래 사조까지 어떤 저거 힘보다 나랑서 그 싸마고네 라 냠네 시서던 저카네 용고 도스.
And so when we practice a deity, and we sometimes talk about two ways of practicing the deity. One is from the relative perspective, one is from the ultimate perspective. And sometimes that is also divided into 3 aspects of practice. And then we call it the outer, inner, and secret aspects of practice. And so here the outer aspect refers to the relative level, and the inner and secret to the ultimate level. So when the outer aspect of deity practice is when we visualize the deity in front, and then we make offerings to the deity, we praise and worship the deity. And then there's the inner aspect of deity practice, the inner ultimate aspect, and then there's the secret ultimate aspect. So the inner aspect is related to one's channels, winds, and drops, the practices of channels, winds, and drops. So there is this, this mandala place of one's channel, mainly the central channel, which is like the center of town or of the mandala. And then through these channels travels the essence winds, the wisdom winds. So the refined essence of which are the drops. Basically it refers to the purifying of the channels, winds, and drops. We train in bodhicitta on the basis of channels, winds, and drops, and we basically recognize that the deity and its mandala are the wheels of the deity are naturally abide within our channels. So the deity, the winds and the drops naturally abide within our channels. So that is a bit difficult to explain. So only through some words it's hard to really comprehend that in one's mind. So that's for the inner practice. And then there is the secret aspect of practice. And that's what we continuously actually, what Rinpoche always talks about during his teaching. It refers to our meditation practice of Mahamudra. And so that is the actual nature of our mind, Mahamudra. And that is the Yidam deity. So the Yidam deity that we are practicing actually is not separate from our mind. There exists no other Yidam than our own mind. So our own mind, the actual nature of our own mind is the Yidam deity. Our own mind is the Buddha, and there is no other Buddha that we can find in any other place than in our own mind. And so for this reason, when we practice the deity from this ultimate secret perspective, then there is also no need to make any offerings and praises and worship and so on. Then we just abide continuously within a natural state of Mahamudra. We remain within a state of meditation. So this is also the highest form of accomplishing the deity. And Rinpoche always teaches just on that when he teaches on Mahamudra and Dzogchen and so on. So that is the secret aspect of deity practice.
Tene yang ta shogo ya pe mabo do te su yo marwa te yin ta nenga chi chi chek do te chek chi yana samsong kai sen da da la gom ne ka lang ran so gom sor che yoro la te kare sen de ne gom go yo na sam ya chowa to so nyam ne se yong de chowa go go lo te ne tom ba nye de cho la ya te ne tom ba ngang le ta de pe ma ta da wa te gom go do te ne pe ma ta da wa te te ne ye ge ta she ren ye na she hong 다 예담 그 가래이나 대그 투소도 공고도 대그 공고 짐세라고 대마 신나 삼성 대 짐세의 가래라는 뜻한데 초가 숨지 라야제 요래 도르지 초가 숨지 라고 요래 숨지 가인스는 된 사원 아니 다데 바장자 된들 그 솜도 된들 간의 송용도
숨가를 된
다보데로와 데 된로와 아니 대토텔라 되네 간다를 내리고 된데 지티니티 토텔라 된니마 다다버도르지로와 다다디 다 메토 나오지 공부로 담보 가서 메토도 공부로와 엔티 땡들라 다버데인라고 공부도와 니지티니티 토텔 이게 공부도와 이게 대인데 숨지 라야 되리도 솜 가는 로고도 다디 공부야 짐세된 데리도 땅 알아서 박차 장고고 요래지 아서도 단 코브내서 지와린데 그 요러 가레스는 지발는 거 요래 나랑 솔로 박차 효kim보 쇼지 요래지 그 박차 되게 또 이제더니 진에서 지발는 거 요래지 그 박차도 장고고 요래 Te pa jamar savasarda teni tada de la te gongo yor la ke yinde to so gongo yor es te pakya de jaya la ta khareri la na tada de sondo de nan song yore pana tada de ngaran so pakya de khare so yong la na mo ji che wa ling no tambo pha ko khowa namshi teni phama ko khatha nin jong go do eni te le jong ro go yor es teni sang yin teni khoben de che wa ling ro go yor es te yin za tambo de la pa ngaran so de nyima kashi ke nyima gong do de nyima gong ya de nyima gong ya de ma ke dor dawa gong ya de pha ko khowa eni ta sawu yin ro gong ya de ngaran so ke pen number shi pen nam shi kun chung zi ri do nam shi ke chung zi eni te gong de ta nam shi de kandar nam shi de pha yedam ke la ni de kandar de sawu gong yo de sawu yin de pha yedam ke la nam ba la char do ta de ngaran so 지내선 코와는야 대파 중야 차가 요래 파그 코와 마그 코와 인초 아니 텔은 남시 쇼송아이나 아니 리드롭 송아이나 가서 코빈에서 코르고 요래 다 대파 박차의 중야 그치데 니마 다와곰 아니 대 파마그 크라 중지 아니 티텐데 딩 토트는 이게 셔 고미도 티셔데 되는 가랑서 셈되지 아니 셈데다 간다 셔때 되니 파 간다 때래 셔때 되니 얘가 그러다 예담 그 라인 오니도 존도고 요래 대다 리존 양아랑 좀 링코발 리존 기वन 코빈에서 제발 링용 거 요와 근데 던르가 파 박차 중요하게 지데 아니 다다가랑 좀 예담 그라 가래 냠니 세와이나 담몽골 엄마 소바와 시다 사마다마 소바와 시다 함존 치탐제 동반예의 조르송 요래 동봉강내 송도 동익 대강내 되니 벤나 메도 따뜻한데 메도 제나다다 데 가르라고 그런데 가서 데 요라데 다 메도레 데 메도 어동마라로서 가로데 메도데 샤르 애니티 토탈 라 냐마탄 다와게 데 애니티 토탈 이게 셔곰 셔데니티니 예당 라니도 조르송 산네 던루 공고도 데 공야게 동다데 간다 나랑 좀 고발을 지발내면 내가 진내 지역고는 지발낸 거고 요래서 진내 지역고는 지발낸 거와이나 아니 랭고와 인데 되게 박차다 마종와이나 나랑 좀 코빈에서 양자 지발낸 거고 요래서 되게 박차다 파 중요하게 탑 나오지 야고 요래다 탑 테모 많이 봐 아니 이게 때 다다디 고미원 내가 코빈에서 지발낸 그 진내 지역에 나오니 쪼처 나치 때 종고 요래서 얘나 양나치데 파 장사와이나 아니 인솜대양 랑인의 장로 그래 손도 양데 제본다고 시와이나 레레 칼라 요래 나치 장설시야 요래 징지 용설시야 요래 소라레 칼진에도 파파차데 파빵네 장야시야 요래 얘나 다단데 하고소와이나 차상대의 장투 그래 손을 빼자게 나눠로던 손도 아니 다른 다 대소 요 말에 대인잖아 이자네 가서데 고물음 그때 요러와 되게 나눠라 다 힘본다고 가르치는 나 차상 진대난데도 요래 챘나 근데 로와이나 ngaranzo tanbo lam nyamni kandeji sego yomi tanbo nyamni sede ngaso pen lodo nam yerba na jinro go yora lodo nam jinro tejil sancho tat samba gomsor ninje gomsor sancho sem gomsor ani shine gomsor lamthong gomsor tin joglo ta chiram da zoram ta chiram zoram de kola jejin je bande na sabo shodo yedam ko lat so ke 그 따단 세마저고 갈라고 때 삼생 간데 이메 디 유딘도 소고 그바 에도 소라레 칼 요르도 소 참아 시선도 빼 계지 뭐 요래 되니 대근 요텔라 따 간다르 조름 거야 요래 되니 조름 사자 신문가는 라다는 거야 대 차상 람냠스 린소와는 람냠 냠린 딴 동한이 용수 조바가 람냠린 차상 된날 상도 요래 에대인데 네그 때때 나로를 처음에 힘본다고 용조도 따다단데 빼차빼 망보제 로 아니 되게 나로네 다 나랑 소다다데 준대인 그 다체 마망도서 지마도서 빼차 망보 차상지 로야 그즉 롭종스야 그 디수요 말와 대미용인데 땅아 스자달람네 가르세는 데서 준대인 가서 셰다 대요인데 다 같이 앉아냐면 대대요는 가서 준대인 빼차 다체 자체모도는 망보지를 따야 고갑이오래 에들 삼노 망보지 땅데 요라 다 스자달람 용네가 다 냠용다고 지 돈에 다 뭐뭐보지 냠는데 이제 진행 계좌시에 고란서 진행 그 강하다 냠용도서 대수도서 사상지 하고 용데 ta del pawa chik tap chik go do san te ni sam ma bo chik tang del te ni te ni nge gomram ke tap de sodik sewa ye ane sodik se ya te an ta chik ngene ke tap che zo da nim bon do song ya jo ke ta me ma lama ge shin yin ke ba ten de chik ngene chik risma che ba ke song ya jo ke ten de ke tap nim bon do de chen de na sodik se ne te ni deng ne 간다 다다 탑 되어지 칸이 참 하고 또 야던 되지 지요 근데가 제 로발 때니 제 넘발라양 펜도 땡땡 용거래 간이서는데 나게 뒤가 지부 차가 요 말에 달라마게 신이 망보 지그 송야요 그 송그 니보 나오도 자상 내나는 되게 요래 아니 되게 야와 토는 가서 또단데 다자가 나로라 온라인 코스 라도 뭐든 되지 지요래 아니 양 때나는 냠요 난게 요나야 다자가 나로라 데 람 럼바나 이 냠서 라인소 아니 데 쿠르쿨럼 라무도 다들라 다데 그 레레 칼 칸데시 치수 카세 곰자고 그 요메 아니 데 나로라 곰자브네칼라 지란소고양 곰그 파센트 솔 페차 카레 로고 요메 또 차상 제데나 사포티요 럼바나지 어떤지야 요시야 양테니 양 데칼라 냠요 난긴 요아예나 다다 가서 데 대부 잡라지 요르 때 나로라 가르도마 코스 도트 코스 칸라야 로직도 어때 나는 페로낭스 드르지시야 요때 사마토지체 다시 데라이
So we don't have so much time today, so I will just point out really what's most important when we engage in the deity yoga practice, and so why we need to engage in practice. When most of the rituals, the sadhanas, they begin with something like everything becomes emptiness, and then from within the state of emptiness arises the seed of lotus and moon, and above the seed there is the seed syllable, whichever seed syllable of the deity, a Shri or a Hung and so on. And so that is very significant actually. So that kind of visualization, for example, is called the Sri Vajras. It is a threefold visualization. So it consists of 3 steps. That is, we visualize the seed, which is the lotus flower, for example, and then a moon disk. And then above that there is a seed syllable. So there is 3 steps to visualizing. And so the purpose of visualizing that is that visualization actually purifies our ordinary habitual tendencies, these imprints in the mind. And it is these imprints that actually are responsible for our taking birth in samsara. Because we have those imprints, we will take birth in samsara over and over again. Because these imprints are very strong, very deep. And so we again and again take birth in various types of birth. And so if we do not want to take birth in samsara, we need to purify these imprints, these deep habitual patterns. And that is why we need to visualize the generation stage. And so how is that purification coming about? Why do we purify those imprints when we visualize that? So the 3-step visualization, for example, represents actually the way that we take birth. So it directly corresponds to the way in which we take birth. So first there is the drops of the father and the mother. There is the white drop of the father and the red drop of the mother that merge. And when they merge, then the consciousness enters the womb and we take birth in samsara. And then slowly the body has formed, the body will form. And so, for example, when we visualize a sun disk, sometimes we visualize a sun disk that represents the red drop of the mother. And the moon disk represents the white drop of the father. And then the seed syllable of the deity, like the Shri, for example, that represents our own consciousness on top of sun and moon, meaning entering the merged essences of father and mother, entering the womb. And that consciousness actually is by nature the Yidam deity. It is the mind of the deity. So the consciousness transforms into the seed syllable, which means it is not ordinary but becomes the deity. And that purifies the way to take birth in a womb. So Normally, when we take birth, the consciousness, first the white and the red drops mingle, and then the consciousness enters into this mingled red and white drops. And once it has entered, it has already taken birth in samsara. And so the white and the red drop represent the white and the red drops of our, the white and the sun and the moon represent the white and the red drops of our parents. The seed syllable, for example, Shri, is your own mind that has the essence of the Yidam deity's mind. So we visualize that in order to purify the imprints that cause us to take birth in a samsaric body over and over again. So that's why in all the Yidam deity practices, the sadhana begins with purifying into emptiness. So first it says the mantra Om Svabhava Shuddha Sarvadhamma Svabhava Shuddhohang. That means all phenomena become emptiness. And then within that state of emptiness then arises the lotus flower and the seed of sun and moon, and the seed syllable, for example, Shri. And then the Shri transforms into the Yidam deity. And so that purifies the various forms of taking birth. So there's 4 types of taking birth: the egg, the womb, the heat and moisture, and miraculous. And it is said that if we do not purify these imprints, then we will again and again take birth in either one of those 4 types of birth. For example, of these 4 types of birth, the principal one is actually the womb, and therefore it is said that if you purify the birth of the womb, this imprint of taking birth in a womb through the generation stage, then that naturally purifies the other 3 types of taking birth. So then you don't have to do all the other visualizations as well. And of course, each of the 4 types of taking birth has a corresponding generation stage. But then actually, if you practice only the one that purifies the womb, it purifies them all. So that is what is mentioned in the scriptures. So we don't have much time today, so we'll stop the instruction here now. But you can read more about that in the book, The Stages of Meditation. I've compiled in that book the essence of that path. And so if you read that, you will know how to engage in the practice of the path. It is the entire path, beginning with the 4 thoughts that turn the mind, and then also how to cultivate love, how to cultivate compassion, how to cultivate bodhicitta, how to practice shamatha, how to practice vipassana, and then the generation stage, then the completion stage. So everything is within there. And also it explains the symbolic meaning, the signs of the Yidam deity, their significance, and all of that is really important to understand. And then in the completion stage relates to the practice of Mahamudra. So everything is included. Actually, the entire path of sutras and tantras are included in essence in that book. And so I have compiled this book, having read many different scriptures. I've extracted their essence and put them into this book form. Because coming to the West, I found that the people here don't have the time and the opportunity to read all these scriptures. It is different than in our monastic colleges in the Shedra. We have an opportunity to read various scriptures all the time and think about them. But then here in the West, people don't have that kind of opportunity. So just reading, hearing much about the people here and talking to a lot of people, learning about their difficulties, then I found that it would be good to have a book like that. That's really necessary. And that's why I compiled the essence of all those scriptures. And the words in there, therefore, are not my own words, but they really actually, this book consists of the words of various past masters, spiritual masters, without any bias of lineage. It is a compilation of all of the essence of all their teachings, put in a way that is easy to understand for most people. So I'm certain that if you read that, it will be of benefit to you. So it is not something that I wrote myself, but actually is the words of the past masters. And also we have created an online course on the stages of meditation that you can join online. Online you can find the curriculum for that course. The curriculum prescribes exactly like how many hours you need to study this or meditate on that, and what you should read in your break times and so on. So all of that you can find online if you are interested in practice. So we have this a web page, the Gardharma course, online course, .org, I think. So you can find that online. So thank you very much, and Dashi Delek.